What's up, everybody? It's the Woodward Bet Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. I'm Scott Gyraszin, joined today by my boy, Detroit Beastie. What is going on, Chris? How was your Sunday yesterday?
Oh, it was fantastic. I tweeted, I even mentioned it on Facebook. I didn't do a dang thing yesterday, and I loved everything about it. At night, I also mentioned how tired I am from doing nothing all day. So it was a very successful Sunday, at least in my household.
Did you fill up your gut with a bunch of food and then take a nap? That's usually what happens to me. I get bunch something for lunch, smash it, and then as football goes on, next thing you know, I'm drifting off into space. But yeah, good times.
Yeah, I got some nachos. There's this dive bar I found by me. It's like some sort of House of Reuben, and I got these extra cheese nachos, and they were unbelievable in a pizza box. I ate the whole thing, and then I took a nap at around. I think to me the best time to nap is between 2 and 3 p.m. any day of the week, and yesterday was great.
Perfect. Sounds good. But dude, while you were napping, man, what the hell is going on in the NFL? I'll tell you what, if you would have told me Buffalo was only going to score 6 points against Jacksonville, I would have pretty much laughed. We saw all kinds of games here. Denver beats Dallas, which we obviously did not expect. And then we got the Giants winning that we did not expect. We got Atlanta beating the Saints, which I thought the Saints were gonna. I thought that they were just gonna roll them. So, man, all kinds of craziness going on. The Browns just absolutely mollywopped the Bengals. Just goes to show you that, man, I think they're the best running team in the NFL by far. And then the Packers and Chiefs, they scored 20 points between the two of them. Would have never expected that game to be as low scoring. And then as we see, we only seen pretty much a field goal bonanza over there, 9-6, Chris, in that Jacksonville Buffalo game. But man, what a crazy ass weekend in NFL. What'd you think of that
I went
craziness?
Yeah, I went over with my what is it? My parlays. I mean, I did some college football stuff. I was successful Saturday night. I saw Beer Maker's video, the edit. I saw it live about Purdue, and I was in on that one too. So Purdue won. That was great. So now State, Michigan, both 8-1. We can cross that bridge when we come to it later in the week. But right now, at this moment in time, I was my parlay picks and my over unders were awful yesterday because again, it's like any given Sunday. Who the heck knows how things are going to go? I'd like to think, Scott, that you and I and even Beer Maker and anybody else there at Woodward Sports, we kind of have a knack for this stuff, DFS and sports betting, over-unders. And yesterday was the prime example of we don't know a thing. Any given Sunday and let the chips fall where they may. And we can only hope to just get a little bit of action from this stuff. So yesterday it was wild. And I also saw, I believe Woodward tweeted it out, where the Lions were on bye week. So we can rest. We're in peace. We don't have to worry about them losing. And come to find out the bye week beat the Lions by like 3 or 4 points yesterday. So what are you going to do?
Yeah, I mean, still winless, but yeah, they'll get back in action here this week. I don't expect them, obviously, to do much, but Chris, it was just funny you mentioned about losing. I mean, hey, the best sports bettors in the world only win at like a 58-60% clip at best. So don't feel as if you lose, we're all gonna lose. Or we don't have that sports almanac from Back to the Future that our boy had there. But
Biff.
too bad, man. I wish I could find one of those, Chris. That'd be fabulous, man. I'd have a lot of fun if I had that thing, obviously. But yeah, crazy NFL. I always like to say NFL stands for no effing logic. But week to week league, we're gonna move on. We got week 10 in front of us. Obviously, as the week goes on, we're going to break it down. But hey, everybody, you know what we're going to do? We're going to change up the way we do things here a little bit at Woodward Bets. I think what we're going to start doing on Wednesdays, we're going to break down the NFL slate for you guys, get a little bit ahead, then we can leave it up for everybody, at least for everybody to see. And then Sunday, when we do our live show, what we're going to do is we'll take some more sit and start questions. We'll try to interact with everybody as the news changes and so forth. So we'll be on from 9 to 10 on the network. And then generally, as we know, the pregame show, wherever it may be that week, is generally on as well. So be sure you guys check that out. But Chris, before we get moving, I do got to say, I had a lot of people kind of make comments about our Drunk Stewie's picks. We're just trying to have some fun. We thought it was something that you guys couldn't miss out on. And hey, he went 0 for 3. So, a little lesson learned there. You get some guy that really didn't put any thought into it. He just basically is looking at his phone. He spits off 3 picks. I should have known better, Beastie. I should have bet all 3 of them in a parlay on the other way. Man, I should have known better. I was kicking myself as it actually kicked off. I thought, I don't know what I was thinking. I should have totally bet against this guy here. But hey, you know what, Chris? We either want you to be always right or always wrong, right? As long as we know what you're doing as sports bettors, we don't care. Just give us wrong picks all the time or give us right picks all the time. And then once we get to know how you're doing. So, yeah, hey, if Drunk Stewie's going to give us 0-3 picks every week, we'll have to have him back on. What do you think about that there, Beastie?
Absolutely. No, I like what you said. Either you're all right or all wrong, because at least we can kind of plan our betting day around that. So yeah, I'm with you. Drunk Stewie, I think, was a success, and I'm shocked that you didn't put all 3 of those bets in the opposite way, because now next time you cross paths with Drunk Stewie, whatever he gives you, it's going to be 3-0. I mean, that's just the way it rolls. I like what you said. No effing logic about the NFL. So it's kind of like the roulette wheel. It hits every once in a while. You can get hot. But with Drunk Stewie, I would take this week off in terms of betting what he does. We'll see how they play out, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, the thing is, too, like you said, you're going to win, you're going to lose. And that's why we just try to have fun with it. But in DFS, though, Chris, man, it's been pure craziness in some of these contests, these injuries that are just popping up all of a sudden. I had Zach Moss, it kind of hurt, but we'll get into that here in a few minutes. We'll review my lineup. But Chris, I got to mention something, man. Did you see Jefferson running down the field? He's going for a block for Cook. He's doing the windmill as he's running. Man, that was one of the funniest football clips I've seen in a while, man. I got to look. Here it is here. Look at him. He's running down the field, and he's just got that arm front. Look at him. Bam! He hits that guy. I mean, that is awesome. Hey, it looks like he's having fun. So I do like to see that, but that's some funny stuff. But did you see that, or is that the first time you're seeing that?
No, that I've seen it a million times, and the first thought that came into my head Sunday while I was watching it is, you watch these nature videos and people that go in the woods and they get stalked by, mountain lions and bears. They always say if a bear approaches you, put your hands up as high as it can go and make yourself tall, and they'll be freaked out and they won't attack you, crush your skull, they'll run away. So maybe Justin Jefferson is thinking the same thing. He's running, he's creating havoc, and he's scaring off folks so he doesn't have to block them. They'll just cower and let Dalvin Cook run right by him. That's what I thought initially.
Yeah, I was thinking he was kind of waving him to go outside or inside, and he was going to make him a block there. But man, I just got a kick out of it. If you go around Twitter, there's some people that actually have some pretty funny little comments and music to it. It's pretty funny. I got a kick out of it. But Chris, hey, we do got to mention our show sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. A lot of fun. Use our promo code WSN. You can get in there. You can do different kind of drafts. You can use, there's different prop bets you can pick. They got all the different sports in there. You can pick 1, 2, or 3 picks, 4 picks. You get different times your money. Obviously, the more picks you get. But hey, if you use our promo code WSN, we're going to give you a free $10 for checking it out for watching our show. So be sure you get in there, check it out. It is a lot of fun. Player props are obviously a little bit different, Chris, than betting on the games. And a lot of times, you use the correlation in the game and how you think a game may go. Maybe if one quarterback on one side is, get you 2 or 3 touchdown passes, and that's the prop. And maybe you pick his receiver that's doing well. A lot of times the receiver on the other end of that game, obviously because they're losing, are going to have lots of opportunities and give you an opportunity to hit kind of stuff like that. So I think it's a lot of fun, especially on these island type games, like the Sunday night game, the Monday night football game, stuff like that. Definitely a lot of fun. But yeah, get in there and check that out. We appreciate you guys doing so. But Chris, let's take a peek here at the lineup that I used this Sunday in DFS. I actually did pretty good. So I started out with Lamar Jackson. Obviously, he did really well. He didn't pass for as much, but man, the rushing upside and especially his touchdown equity is really high. And then, as you see here, Nick Chubb was my he was my hero yesterday. Man, he looked really good with those Cleveland Browns. But as you see, the little stinger I talked about these injuries, man, Zach Moss went out early. I thought that really disrupted part of what was going on there with Buffalo. Jacksonville was just all over him. I'm not saying he would have done much better, but man, if I get 10 more points or so, I would have been moving up the standing. As you see there, I did have Brown paired with Jackson, which worked out. He didn't get in the end zone, but 9 catches, 116 yards. Jefferson started out on fire. He had 12 points, literally the first drive, caught that bomb. Then he really didn't get much more than a couple catches after that, after his TD. So that could have worked out well. And man, Chris, I don't know what the hell happened to Kadarius Toney. I know he was pretty chalky. I thought I'd use him. He was a guy that was sitting down there. I could also went with a guy like Renfro. I went back and forth in between. But I decided to go with Toney. I thought that they would throw the ball a little bit more. I thought that game would be a little bit more open than it was. And then the mistake I did make here, and I was debating, I thought I'd be different by going Andrews, and I was different. The dude catches that long touchdown pass. He literally dropped in the end zone. I think it was like a 20 or 30-yarder. Man, he has a much better day, but we haven't seen those smash spots yet in tight ends. So I should have paid down and used that extra salary elsewhere. As you've seen, Gaskins did decent as well, but a lot of the chalk plays busted, weren't really good. Obviously, Mahomes didn't do shit. Either did Tyreek Hill. On my DK team, Chris, I actually threw in Jordan Love because he literally was free. It was like 4K. I thought, I don't even care if he gets me 12 points. If I can get a guy like Tyreek or a couple of these high upside guys to pan out for me that I could absorb if he only got 15. If he got 20, I was going to be ecstatic. But didn't quite work out. But we can look at the guy who ends up winning the top prize on FanDuel and their so-called millie. As you've seen, at first it was $1 million. Now it's only $300K. But he had Lamar Jackson as well. And then you see his running backs. He ended up with Connor, which ended up obviously helping him out there. But Parnham, he paid down there. And then obviously you see he had Brown and Chubb as well. That I did, but that New England defense really came through for him and got him 20 points. So 196 was the top score. As you've seen, I was in the mid 120s there, but yeah, good lineup there. Really wasn't anybody that really smashed it. You pretty much did have to have Chubb. It looks like that New England defense was something you really needed to have as well. But man, Chris, we saw a weekend where what? Adrian Peterson scores. Freeman scores, and Le'Veon Bell scores. I mean, what is this, 2017? I mean, what's going on here? I mean, craziness of the NFL, like we were saying earlier.
Yeah, that's wild. And again, you can't, we go over all this stuff with a fine-tooth comb. I mean, you've mentioned it several times. I just have stacks and stacks of notes and different colored pens and matchups, and I highlight stuff. And then at the end of the day, when you go to bed, it was all for nothing. I'm just one big dummy because you can't get a handle on it and you can't get a pulse. It's crazy to me, and briefly about Toney. Look, this is Woodward Sports, it's Woodward Bets. We're here to talk over unders, DFS, and sports. Last thing I want to do is talk, COVID stuff or personal beliefs, religion, and politics, and all that. But Toney, you will never be on any of my seasonal fantasy rosters or my DFS rosters. This kid is absolutely disconnected. He's a dummy, and I don't like him. So you know what? Maybe he burned you yesterday, so therefore you won't have to use him again. Now look, I try and take my personal beliefs and all that. that stuff and throw it to the side when you're betting. I don't want to let my homerism or my where I'm from in the city, to sway me, because then that would mean all my stuff it's not good. People will say it's not well respected because you bet or you put out DFS plays from like a place of just hate or something along those lines. But to me, what's better than that? You choose from your gut and you go from there. Kadarius Toney will never be mentioned again out of my mouth, and he'll never be in my lines or anything that way. He sent out a tweet the other day. I mean, this kid it's just silly. He called everybody goofy for putting down rugs and all that. So I'll leave it alone. Go from there. He burned you yesterday. Hopefully you never go back to him after that, Scott.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I mean, you get a bad vibe with the guy, and then you hate playing him. It's almost like karma. You just can't stand it. And I got a couple guys like that for myself, especially in baseball, that just drive me nuts. But football for me, I'll tell you, Chris, that guy for me is Ezekiel Elliott. I don't care what spot he's in. If I play that dude, man, he burns me, and then it's so tilting. And another thing too that's really aggravating, a guy too that I kind of feel with in basketball is actually Anthony Davis. Man, that dude, every time I roster that guy, man, he goes out. I just like sit back and wait for the damn tweet to come out. He burned me the other day too. But either way, I had a decent day. I won some money. I can't complain. Ended up 3Xing everything I played. Ended up losing a little bit on DK, but on FanDuel I did pretty well. So it is what it is. I didn't end up doing too well with my bets, but overall for the Sunday, definitely cannot complain, especially how crazy it is. And, you mentioned about studying the picks, Chris, and you mentioned about doing everything else and all the time we spend looking at numbers and deep diving and looking at this matchup against this cornerback and how he ranks and how this team handles the slot, corners and so on and so forth. And the weather, I mean, go on and on. We can look at different things that we like to look at, but it's almost equated to like poker. In hands of poker, it's you could have the best hand and you're in a great spot, but doesn't always mean you're going to win. But over time, if you keep playing and use your process and do well with your process and believe in your process and adjust your process to maybe things that are happening, that's what ends up making you a winning and a good player. So, make sure you get in there. You have the tools you need. There's obviously optimizer sites and follow stuff on Twitter and get the latest news. I mean, man, Chris Tua went out really late last week, so that affected a lot of things there in that game as well. So I think that affected the over/under in that game. I think it just affected quite a bit. I mean, now the game plan was probably a little bit different. So I mean, you really got to be engaged. You really got to be paying attention, especially in NBA in games like that. But just stick to your process. If it doesn't work out for you that week, and kind of look in DFS when I come in last place, I like to look at some of the players that are around me, Chris, because if I know that there's some good players around me, well, you know what? That week I just chalk it up that, it wasn't me. My process is still right. I'm still around some of these same guys that are winning money constantly. So don't be afraid. You are going to lose in DFS, but you just got to build your team and hopefully, get up to the top and you can get yourself a maybe 10, 20, 30, 40 timer that will really 1 week will pay for your whole season. But either way, we got week 10 coming upon us, which can't wait for that. We got some college football getting down to the nitty gritty, Chris. As we said, we saw the Sparties lose. Now they're all 8-1 here in our side of the Big Ten. So going to be interesting here as we all match up here with Ohio State. Now, I won't lie here. I'm going to be on the I hope the Sparties whoop the Bucky's butt, man. I cannot stand Ohio State. I'm going to be rooting for the green on that one here. So let's hopefully we both get them, man. That would be awesome if we could. Us here can just both smash them. I'd like to see that. But I was interested to see how their game there went last week, Chris. They did not look good defensively. That being the Buckeyes, that quarterback does not appear that this Ohio State team is not an Ohio State team we've seen in the past. I don't really like the running game. They don't have an identity to me. So, man, I think that they better watch out for Hutchinson. I think they better watch out for Kenneth Walker because us two teams from Michigan are going to be bringing it. So hopefully we can beat them both. And maybe see what happens as the season plays out and see who ends up going to Indianapolis. But Chris, what do you think? What do you think of the end of this Big Ten season coming up?
It's going to be exciting. I believe, I know everybody's probably seen that meme where it looks like the Grim Reaper and he goes door to door, right? And right now it's Purdue. The Boilermaker head is on the Grim Reaper, and he's gone to Michigan State's door, and next door he's knocking on, I believe, is Ohio State on Saturday. So I guess in a way, I'm a Purdue fan right now. It was nice to see them beat Michigan State. Made no bones about the fact I'm a Michigan man. I'm a Michigan guy. Go Blue, Wolverines, all that stuff. But it's kind of strange to me if I was like overabundance of Michigan is the best. And look, I'm glad Purdue beat Michigan State because they stink, because anything you do, it can go right back in my face. Well, Purdue beat Michigan State, but you dummies, Michigan couldn't beat Michigan State. So what are you doing here? So it's a weird thing. And again, as you said, Ohio State, yeah, Chris Olave, their wide receiver. In a way, people are kind of dismissing him as a high-end wide receiver talent. I think it's it's process fatigue, or prospect fatigue, where he's been around for a while. He didn't declare last season he wanted to play again in Ohio State, so people are kind of sweeping him under the rug in favor of some other folks. So this Ohio State team it's always talented. It's always chocked full of 4- and 5-star recruits and kids. But I'm with you here. CJ Stroud, I believe, is the quarterback there. They're just not, as good and strong and powerful as I can remember here. So it's time, get while the getting's good. In Michigan, they have a chance here. I mean, every year they have a chance, but this year, more importantly, they just cannot lose to Ohio State at the end of the season here again. For what in a row would that be? What's their record against Ohio State in the Jim Harbaugh era against Ohio State? I think that they've lost like 7 or 8 games in the few years that Jim Harbaugh has been here. So it's time to get in and get moving and go from there. To be honest with you, Scott, you're just a tad older than me. I know Beer Maker always makes fun of you for being an old man with a cane wearing suspenders, and I'm 37 years old, so I'm no spring chicken, but I can't remember the last time that Michigan has beaten both Michigan State and Ohio State in the same season. Back in the 80s or the early 90s when I was a boy, elementary school, middle school, it was kind of, we'll plow through Michigan State, and it always came down to the last game of the season, Michigan State. And Michigan always had kind of high hopes, and they would always get over on Ohio State. But the last 10 or 12 years, they've just been getting steamrolled by State and Ohio State here. So this is the year. Michigan has to beat them. And again, you can play back the tape. I don't think I was as active as in broadcasting and being on such a highly sought after show as Woodward Sports, but every year Michigan says the same thing. Michigan State, it's okay, ho-hum, whatever, but every year we have to beat Ohio State, and yet year after year they lose to them. So I don't know what the heck is to be expected here, but Michigan has to beat them, and the Big Ten in general. It's nice to see so many Big Ten teams in the top 10 or at one point in time in the season here. So Big Ten to me is where it's at. Just a highly sought after class of talent here in the Big Ten. So to me, it's awesome and it's fantastic.
Yeah, but the problem I have though is they're Beastie. I think the one who does get out there at the top and gets to go to, if one of the Big Ten teams does make it to the college playoff, man, I think they're just going to get absolutely steamrolled, especially if they play. If they play some SEC team. I do not think as a whole the Big Ten is very good. But either way, exciting stuff coming through. But, Chris, we got some NBA and we got some NHL. I know you like to do some NHL. We only got 3 games in NHL. Yes. So actually, I don't mind a smaller slate like that. So if you want to have at it, you're our hockey guy. If there's any bets here you like, any kind of DFS action, looks like all the over-unders are at 5.5, and there's 2 big favorites. So have at it. Is there any place here that we should look at?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, as an adult man, I barely do I talk about money, like what I make in my career or what I win in DFS. I provide my picks and my DFS stuff, and people use them, and here we are. But at this moment in time, I profited just this weekend alone, just shy of about $12,500 Friday, Saturday, and yesterday's games alone. So I don't know what the heck has been happening. I haven't changed my process or my method. It's just been one of those heaters. So to be honest with you, Scott, I know I shouldn't say this, but I didn't play very much NFL DFS yesterday because I'm so immersed in the NHL stuff. So when we talk about today's game, yeah, it's fantastic. Florida at New York, Buffalo's at Washington, and the Kings are in Toronto here. So if you look down the list here, I absolutely love in GPP plays. I'll be mindful of that. I have a couple cash and a couple GPP plays for the big tournaments, guaranteed prize pools. I love Florida's first line, Alexander Barkov. He's day-to-day. Be careful. He burned me on Thursday. Had him in my lineup. I forgot to edit. That's on me. But Barkov should be back today. First line and first power play unit, along with Anthony Duclair and Carter Verhaeghe. All three are on the first line. And then Duclair and Carter, they double at the second power play unit. So with Florida at the Rangers, you're getting a little bit, you're getting the full first line, and you're getting a little bit of exposure to the second power play line as well. I always love those plays. People don't pay attention to that much. They want to stack the first line or the second line, but with Florida's first line, you get exposure to everything and the second power play unit. Moving down the list in the same game, I love the Rangers second line. Again, GPP play. So again, you would think, well, I would stack this whole game. Absolutely. The Rangers second line, Ryan Strome, and you get Artem Panini, the bread man as they call him, and Capo Caco. That's his name. Capo Caco. It's a fantastic name. And you get exposure to the first and second power play unit in that one. If we want to go to some cash game plays, this one's easy peasy. Washington's first line with OV. You get, what's his name? OV Kuznetsov and Tom Wilson. All on the first line, all on the first power play line. And again, in cash games, how can you get around, Toronto's first line? Matthews, Nylander, they just bumped up Michael Bunting to Toronto's first line, and he's on the second power play unit as well there. So if it helps, if anybody needs anything, you can reach out to Woodward Sports or find me on Twitter at Detroit Beastie. I have all the photos and everything highlighted here. But again, just to tie this thing up in a bow, I love Florida's first line, the Rangers' second line. Those are GPP plays. And you could toss in a little bit of Toronto too as well. Tavares and Mitch Marner in there. But then in cash games, no way around Washington's first line. As I said, Ovi, Wilson, and Toronto's first line, Austin Matthews, Nylander, and Bunting. But I will say briefly here, Scott, you know what? If you want to get not contrarian, let's say, but in cash games, I would imagine Toronto's first line in Austin Matthews is going to be well above 30, maybe 40% ownership here. I mean, there's little to no money to be made when it's that high exposure here. So again, I would say in cash games, just pivot to Toronto's second line. As I said, Tavares, Mitch Marner, and it looks like Pierre Engvall is there as well. So Toronto's second line, if you want to get a little bit more strange, because again, John Tavares, little bit exposure to the first power play line with John Tavares. It's a good way, I've noticed, to kind of, cover all your bases with that one.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, I like to get in there a little bit and play some hockey once in a while. It's just not something that I generally like to get in there and do. But if so, I'm definitely going to be replaying this back here so I can start filling out my lineups. And
you could just shoot me a text. I'll send you my notes. You don't have to watch the tape back. You have my number. I can just reach out and go, here, this is what I'm doing.
But hey, not everybody is as cool as me to have your number. So they might have to replay. But Chris, I was laughing. I was talking to a buddy of mine who plays a lot of hockey, and he was trying to tell me that he ended up playing a goalie that he wasn't sure was going to be in there. He put him in, didn't check, ends up checking like 1 minute before after lock. He couldn't swap him out. He ends up getting to 0, but all the goalies got negative that night. So because he had a guy that didn't play, he ended up actually doing pretty well. So he was like, yeah, what are the chances that one time when the lineup lock burned me that it actually paid off? So I thought that was pretty funny. It actually reminded me of a situation too, Chris. I had a buddy there was a bunch of us one time on a lineup, and we all were passing it around. It was in baseball, and this was when DFS first started. But one of the guys ended up actually being a late scratch, so we ended up switching to 2 catchers. Well, my one buddy didn't get a chance to switch it out. He was all mad at us that we switched, and he didn't get the text in time, and blah blah blah. Well, Chris, lo and behold, the dude comes in the 9th inning and pitch hits and hits a bomb. And he ends up passing all of us who were in literally like the top 5, and he ends up winning the whole tournament. End up winning like $8,000 or $9,000 off like $5 or something. It was a funny story, but anyway, he needed it. His car had broke down, so it was just a funny way of God getting him right. So good for him at that time. But Chris, we got some NBA too. I know beer is way better than me in NBA. I'm not claiming to be the NBA guy. Baseball and football are 2 things I like, but I have been looking at a little bit of basketball. As we know, you really got to pay attention to the injuries, who's questionable, who's going to be out. There's a lot of guys here that, Anthony Davis is questionable tonight, Brandon Ingram, D'Angelo Russell, Danny Green, a couple guys to mention. Some teams that are on a back-to-back where especially you got to kind of watch what's going on. The Knicks are on a back-to-back. The Nets are on back-to-backs. The Sacramento Kings, the Warriors, Hornets are all on back-to-backs. You might want to keep an eye on those lineups. Of course, as I mentioned with Anthony Davis, does he go or doesn't he not go? If he doesn't go, Chris, I think you got to fire up Russell Westbrook. I know he's been struggling. He had a bad shooting night the other night. But AD goes out and calls it some stomach illness. Supposedly ate a bad Chipotle or some crap like that. So ends up burning me. I was sitting pretty the other night. Ends up going out and real early. Ends up getting me 5 points. Still kind of mad about that. But the matchup with Charlotte is really good, man. They're a fast-paced team, dead last in defense. So that's why I think Westbrook is going to do really well tonight. But a guy you got to pretty much play, in my opinion, is Frank the Tank. I think you got to look at Frank Kaminsky tonight, especially with the DeAndre Ayton already being ruled out for tonight. Just been beating JaVale McGee pretty much every night. Logged a little over 28.5 minutes the other night. So got to be looking at big old Frank the Tank in your lineup, especially with as cheapy as he is across the industry. So I do think that Anthony Davis is going to give it a go tonight. Man, I just hate to roster him, but I think Michael Porter is a guy that we might be able to look at with about Jamal Murray. Luka's in play tonight is somebody you might want to take a look at. You might be able to look at a guy like Terry Rozier, maybe a Plumlee, somebody like that. But so obviously tonight the AD is the big elephant in the room tonight, Chris. So when you're looking at some NBA DFS, just make sure you obviously are paying attention to all of that. But I do like some Andre Drummond. I know they're running with kind of a short roster. He's pretty cheap. As we said, he's not a very good real life player, but man, he's a really good DFS player. Can get you close to 50 points. Luka is in play. Obviously, Westbrook, like I said. I like Westbrook even if Davis is in there tonight, but I think, especially against Charlotte, I think that game is going to be high scoring, and that is going to be a bet that I'm going to throw out there tonight. I really like the over in that game tonight as well. There is NBA DFS plays for you guys. We'll get to some NBA picks as we get to the end of the show, but yeah, just wanted to run through some DFS plays. Chris, we had some injuries that we might want to keep our eyes on here in the NFL yesterday that I want to mention. It looks like Zeke exited the game with a knee injury, but he did return. So not sure how that's going to end up panning out for him. We saw Lawrence get rolled up on his low ankle. Looked like I wasn't sure he was going to come back. I was actually thinking at the half he may not come back, but I thought Buffalo just might roll him at that point. But he ended up coming back. He's still got them young bones. He can handle that kind of stress on his ankle. Booker suffered a hip injury. Not too sure about that. We're going to have to see how that plays out. Might have some more trouble there. They might need to get Barkley to come back. I know he's getting close. Chase Edmonds left as well, did not return with an ankle injury, which gave Connor even more touches. So Connor might be a guy who might get a little bit more action as time goes on. And Darius Slay left with an injury. He did not return. The reason I mentioned that, it looks like Philadelphia, man, they've been really good on the outside, have not really getting burned deep, but I think that may change. That may open up a little bit, which we saw with that game yesterday with the Chargers. But Chris, is there any other injuries or anything you saw? Is there any of these guys here that kind of concern you? Do you got any shares of Edmonds, Booker, anything along those lines?
Yeah, Edmonds and Booker. Booker, more importantly, he's been in almost all of my lineups on a weekly basis because we don't know what we're going to get from Saquon Barkley on a weekly basis. So that's a bummer. And then briefly, I want to mention, I'm sure you've seen this, Mac Jones playing yesterday. He literally went out of his way to grab a defensive lineman's ankle and twist it and flip him and trip him. I don't know. That's not a good look for Mac Jones and what Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots are about. You'd like to think, because now there's more camera views of it. It's all over the place on social media, and he probably feels like a dummy, but what are you going to do? He literally grabbed this guy's foot and twisted it, and he flipped him around, and he fell, and then he was on the ground, kind of grimacing, grabbing his ankle. So that's not a good look for Mac Jones, and I would imagine, again, I don't work for the NFL, obviously, but you'd like to think there's going to be some sort of fine there because, boom, it's not under a pile. Because I remember, as a kid playing football in a skirmish, you would rip people's chin hair and poke their ears and stuff, all that weird stuff, which I'm sure goes on in the NFL on a fumble or on some sort of skirmish here. But this one, it's blatant, it's clear, it's right out in the open. So I would imagine Mac Jones is going to be hearing from the NFL in some form or way in terms of a fine. I don't think we're looking at a suspension here, but not cool by Mac Jones to twist that guy's ankle and trip him down on the ground.
Yeah, the NFL, man, we've seen it, over the years happening, but I can only imagine what really goes on, like you mentioned, on the bottom of these piles, what's being said and everything else. But yeah, not a good look there, Mac Jones. But Chris, we do have a Monday night football game here tonight, so kind of looking forward to that one. I got a couple guys going. I still got Herbert going, and I have the defense tonight. But man, it looks like we got a low-scoring affair on the tap for us. We got the Bears traveling to Pittsburgh. This one here, total only 39.5. Looks like here we got the spread right around 7. So 3-5. Both teams are Bears are 3-5. Pittsburgh is 3-4 against the spread, Chris, and 59% of the money at this point are coming in on the Steelers against the spread. Is there anything here you want to talk about here as far as the spread? Anything here, the over-under? I kind of think, Chris, I like the under in the first half of this game, actually. I think it's going to be a game they're going to run the ball quite a bit. I think that clock's going to be running. I think you're going to be able to get that first half over-under right around 20 or so. I'll have to check that and make sure and see where we get those lines. But, yeah, I think I like the under here in this game with Chicago and Pittsburgh. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you 100%. Now, in this game, Monday night, as you said, Chicago's in Pittsburgh. I have this one, just a full game of everything under. Not going to be a ton of passing yards, not going to be a ton of touchdowns. So to me, yeah, I like the under in both the half and at the end of the game. 39.5 is very low. That tells you something here. When you go down the list here, I don't think Ben Roethlisberger tallies more than 240, 250 passing yards. I think Justin Fields is going to struggle to get over 200 passing yards. So again, you start to see kind of a pattern here with yardage and points and all that. To me, Najee Harris must own tonight if you're playing a single game DFS slate. But again, everybody else on earth is going to be on Najee Harris there. So we have to differentiate ourselves here. So for that fact, I love the idea, both betting purposes and in DFS slates, both tight ends, Pat Freiermuth and Cole Cole Komet. There's just something going on here with both of them that are speaking to me. I believe Freiermuth, he averages about 9.2 yards a reception, and Freiermuth, oh yeah, that was Freiermuth. Komet right there, 9.2, 9.3 yards a reception here. Chicago, however, they're first overall in terms of guarding tight ends, so I think that might scare off some folks with Pat Freiermuth. $8,000 on FanDuel, only $7,000 on DraftKings. While on the other side of things, Pittsburgh, they're 15th overall against opposing tight ends. So Cole Komet, $7,500 on FanDuel, only $5,800 on DraftKings. Cole Komet was mentioned in a ton of sleeper articles in the spring and the summer. Everybody was flocking to get Cole Komet on their team, and as it stands now, him, Allen Robinson, there's just nothing going on in that offense. Matt Nagy, he wasn't on the sideline last week because of COVID, and Chicago kind of came alive a little bit. I think they carry that over just a little bit here in Pittsburgh, but they're going to fall short. However, I would still be fine with taking Chicago +7. If you look at the spread on the bottom, Chicago -7, obviously that means Chicago's getting the 7 points. I think this is a close game, low scoring game. I have the final 20 to 14-ish, 20 to 17, something along those lines. So if you add that up, 37 points at the most, over under 39.5. So I'm cool with taking Chicago +7 and the under in this one. And if you're building DFS lines, start with both tight ends. Pat Freiermuth at the captain or MVP spot, then run it back with Komet in a flex spot, and then vice versa, if that makes sense. And we'll see what we got. To be honest with you here, Scott, and everybody that's watching this, I'm going to completely get off the beaten path in this one and just go nuts. I could see a case where I'm playing Anthony McFarland or Kalen Ballage, or if we look at some of the wide receivers, Marquise Godwin is speaking to me tonight as well. So don't get chalky, just get wild and go from there. If you got a couple bucks to spend, you played well over the weekend, you got some extra funds in FanDuel or DraftKings, get wild. What's the worst that could happen? You lose $10, you lose $20 on single game entry fees. I'm telling you now, this game is going to go not at all how we think it's going to go. So get in those weird, outlandish plays, and we'll see what we got Tuesday morning.
Yeah, I think this game here actually, I tend to lean the Bears here too, Chris. I think, you look at this game. Justin Fields came off his best game, a fantasy game. He had 100 yards rushing, 10 totes, and a touchdown against San Fran last week. But I do like the Pittsburgh defense is a pretty decent play. Pittsburgh ranks in the top 5 in sacks in the NFL. Fields has been he's been averaging almost 4 sacks. He's had almost 8 turnovers in his in his first 6 starts. So obviously he's been struggling a little bit with getting sacked and with the turnovers. But I think both teams are going to run the ball quite a bit with Williams, Montgomery. They're all out of commission. Herbert is I think he's just going to get the ball quite a bit. But Pittsburgh's defense is really tough. They give up the 9th fewest fantasy points to running back so far. But, man, Herbert's the touch counts are there. The last 4 weeks, he's had 18, 21, 23 touches, which are really high. A lot of volume, especially at the running back position, especially with these split-type committees we've been seeing lately. So I do like the Bears to give the ball quite a bit of Herbert. I think they're going to mix in some Justin Field runs as well. I think the clock is going to be running. So I think Pittsburgh, their strength is running, and the Steelers' run defense is pretty good. So we're going to have to see how those two worlds end up colliding, what end up happening there, strength on strength. But, you look at guys, I do like your Cole Komet call. He hasn't reached over 50 yards in his first 25 games at all. But I do think he has a chance to get in the end zone. A site like FanDuel is more touchdown, where it's just more touchdown heavy, where you need touchdowns. Actually, Mooney in Fields in games here, Mooney has out-targeted Allen Robinson. So I do like Mooney a little bit more, and Robinson is out-targeted him 42 to 33. I actually like Marquise Goodwin a little bit as well. He's had 16 targets there too. Pittsburgh has given up the 11th most points to wideouts. So that's where I think maybe a guy like Mooney, they may take a shot or two. I just don't think it's going to be consistent. I think they're going to maybe run a play action or two. Maybe they hit Mooney deep and you get that one big play that could help you there over the top. But, man, with Pittsburgh, we do see Najee Harris. He's just been getting the ball. He's been on he's pretty much handled almost 95% of all the running back action for Pittsburgh. So he is a true bell cow. He is another guy getting a lot of touches, 20-some touches. So, Chris, when I'm starting out my showdown teams tonight, if you believe in the Bears and you like the Bears to win, I think you obviously got to kind of start out with Herbert. If you do like the Steelers to win, I think Najee Harris is a good play. And then, like you said, mix in these tight ends. I do like the tight ends a little bit. And then maybe throw in a guy like Goodwin, like we mentioned. You could use a guy like Claypool, somebody like that. Maybe you could throw in there. He did have 97% snaps, that being Claypool, last week with Cleveland. So especially when they were running a lot. So I do like him. But, I think this game is just going to be a slow game. I think the only way this game really goes over, Chris, is if we see Fields and turn the ball over and give the Steelers short field. So I think that it could be why we end up losing. I think if this game just plays out, they don't really have any kind of turnovers and they're running the ball. We're not going to see, I don't think there's going to be really that many opportunities for pick sixes, stuff like that. I think we're just going to, if there are turnovers, they're going to be fumbles. And hopefully we don't see any of them, get swooped up and put in the end zone where we get some useless points. But I am going to be on the under of the first half in this game. But as I said, I think Fields and Herbert are going to run the ball quite a bit together. So that hopefully that clock gets running. But just to go through some game trends here for the game, like I said, mentioned both are 3-5, and then Bears are 3-4 against the spread. The Bears are 1-7 against the spread as their last 8 games as an underdog. The under is 6-1 in the last 7 games overall for the Bears. The Steelers are 0-7 against the spread in their last 7 games as a favorite. The under is also 6-1 in the last 7 games overall as well. And then the Steelers are 0-6 against the spread in their last 6 games as a home favorite. So just kind of throw a little bit of trends out there. But Chris, before we get out of here today, why don't we give the people 2 best bets that we like for tonight, and then we'll run out of here. But Chris, why don't you get those ready? I'll let you get yours ready. I'll give out mine here before. As I said, I do like the under 20 points in the first half of the game tonight. And then I also like the NBA. I like the over in that Laker game. I like the over 227.5. It's sitting about right now. I just think that pace of that game is going to be really quick. So I'm going to go over in that Laker game. So Chris, go ahead, give the people your 2 best bets, and we will get out of here. And then hopefully we'll get us some lunch money for tomorrow.
Sure. Let's get wild. Let's go anytime touchdown for Pat Freiermuth. And if you want to put it with a parlay, anytime touchdown for Cole Comet. Both you can play that individually or parlay it together. In terms of hockey, my best bet, my favorite bet, you can lock it in now. You can write it in stone. That's over 5.5 goals in the Florida Panthers at New York Rangers game. Over 5.5 goals set in stone. I'm willing to bet my house on it. Hopefully I have a home tomorrow, but I'm almost certain that the over in that hockey game is there, Scott.
Sorry, man. My dog was barking. I was trying not to let that. So, yeah, good sign there. But, hey, I looked up that Pete Freiermuth touchdown while you were talking there. Plus 320, Chris. So, you get in there, bet you 100, you'll win 320 back on your $100. So, I do like that. So, hopefully that pans out for us. But do appreciate everybody watching. For Chris, for Easy Behind the Glass, I am Scott. We will catch you tomorrow. Good luck.